There's a lot of moving parts about the National Guard, Donald Trump's exploitation of the National Guard, attempt to commandeer the National Guard, deploy the National Guard, put people who were not qualified to handle domestic disturbances, civil disobedience, putting them on the streets with the weapons of war. Bad things have happened. Bad things are going to happen. Trial judges are straining to protect Americans as appellate courts look over their shoulder. We catch you up on the Oregon and California National Guard, including with some exclusive interviews with Rob Bonta, the California Attorney General, on the Legal AF podcast, the #1 law and politics podcast in America. And here's a clip.
Let's start with what's going on, because I had a lot of information that I obtained today in the interview that we live streamed. First live stream we ever did on Legal AF, the YouTube channel. A live stream while I'm here in California at an event. We had Rob Bonta, the Attorney General, talking about the National Guard and what's happening. We got three pieces here. We've got the Ninth Circuit, the Seventh Circuit. We've got Oregon, California, and Illinois, and now we've got the emergency application, not from Oregon or California rulings against the Trump administration, but from the Seventh Circuit, Illinois ruling against the Trump administration. And what judges are struggling with is giving Donald Trump and the presidency a level of strong deference about certain aspects of his power, but not deference on facts. Deferent because the Supreme Court has said it, because the Ninth Circuit has said it, and so other courts are mimicking it, which is, well, in the area of kind of this quasi-foreign policy, it's not foreign policy, you're on the streets of America, this quasi-military policy, why is the commander-in-chief turning cannons towards Americans? That's a posse comitatus act. But they seem to get wrapped around their own axle, the judges, I mean, federal trial judges up to appellate judges, about how much deference to give to the power of the presidency in this area. And where they struggle is how much deference they give them about facts on the ground in real life. And is Donald Trump allowed to point to a guy in a frog in a chicken suit and say that's a rebellion? Or along a continuum, when there was things going on, let's say in Portland, where cars were set on fire back in June, but now you've got 30 people chanting in front of an ICE detention center and no impact on federal enforcement of the law. Is this a rebellion or domestic violence that's making it impossible for the president to exercise the federal law or not? What's interfering with it? In fact, in the Seventh Circuit, they pointed to press releases from the Department of Homeland Security itself touting Operation Midway Blitz's success. Despite the protest, we're picking up thousands of people on the streets. And the judges said, where is your inability to execute federal law when you're bragging about how well you're doing with the operation? Yes, there's peaceful protest on the streets. Yes, occasionally it turns violent, but that does not a rebellion make. And the R word, we're just Republican here, the R word of rebellion is a driver for whether a president can commandeer the state militia, the National Guard, whether he can federalize them, whether he can, they use the term mobilize, which is a little bit weird, mobilize them. And now where the Seventh Circuit and the Ninth Circuit have left it is that you can mobilize, meaning you can take over the National Guard for now, because that's sort of the status quo, because you did it already, but you can't deploy them. Stay in your barracks, keep them off the streets. Now at the Ninth Circuit level, we're waiting on a ruling any minute now. That's not, just to warn our audience, not going to be great, because I listened to that oral argument and what's the old joke? How many Trump judges does it take to screw up constitutional democracy? 2. So 2 out of the 3 judges were Trumpers, and they gave a lot of grief to the Oregon position about, well, things might be better now, but they were terrible in June, so why can't the president send them in now? I mean, just totally buying the Trump argument. So I think that's going to be a ruling in which they're going to allow, like in California, the actual deployment of troops in Portland to guard federal detention centers. But facts on the ground matter, and deference to those facts matter. And in Illinois, all the judges that have looked at it have said, we do not have an outside invasion of another country. Venezuela hasn't come to Illinois. We don't have rebellion, and we don't have your inability to execute with regular forces the law of the state. In other words, blocking. It's not stopping them from arresting, detaining, and processing people. So that John Sauer, Donald Trump's appellate lawyer, didn't like. So they decided now is our chance. On a administrative stay at the Seventh Circuit, we're going to take an emergency application up to the United States Supreme Court. Now, that was already a day ago. As of our tonight podcast, they have not yet, the Supreme Court has not yet blocked the Seventh Circuit and allowed for the deployment on the streets of Illinois, the federal troops. Fast-moving story. Stay on Legal AF YouTube and Legal AF Substack Live, where I'll do updated reportings as we learn more. But as of now, that hasn't happened. Not saying it won't, but it is now the first time in 2 months or so that the Supreme Court has at their doorstep this decision about Donald Trump's use of the National Guard to try to take over blue states and violate their state sovereignty. And yes, every time, as you said, Ben, in every case, regardless of the subject matter, Donald Trump starts off singing from the same page of the hymnal, which is, judges, I don't know why we're here. You can't review anything that I do. If I say it's a rebellion, it's a rebellion. If I say it's an enemy incursion, it's an enemy incursion. If I say it's a war, it's a war. And you guys can't do anything about it. And then, are we done here? No, sit down. We're not done here. Every judge that's looked at it has said, we get to do oversight over, there's certain deference we have to give you. But even giving you the deference, the strong deference, we still have oversight as to whether this is being done in good faith or not, and whether the facts really merit what you're saying. And so that's like the first issue, is whether judges, and that's what the Supreme Court's going to have to take a stand on, about whether judges have that right to interpret statutes, which is what their job is, or not. So, and this is what Bonta was great, because we also talked about how things that Donald Trump is doing, facts on the ground that he's doing in one state, is helping their argument at the Ninth Circuit. I mean, we still have an appeal at the Ninth Circuit about California. And in that one, they said, well, we need all those troops. We gotta take them away from all of their National Guard duties. We got to put them on the streets to protect federal property in California. And then he took 200 of them and sent them up to Oregon or into Illinois. So, that was, Bonta was like, that's a gift. That we brought that now to the attention of the appellate courts there. So we're going to have to follow here. But this is all coming quickly, Ben, for our audience, to a head here about this use of the National Guard. Let me just put this in last perspective before I do something with Santos.
I'm going to spare. I'm going to
spare me Santos.
Spare you Santos, and maybe I'll take a little bit of.
All right. Okay. Fine. That's fine. Let me just make one comment. Everything that we're watching, I'll put this in historical and long view perspective. Everything we're watching, this phony National Guard rollout that's costing the American people billions of dollars. Just got new reports, for instance, that Kristi Noem is spending $200 million to buy Gulfstream G5 jets so she can run around in luxury with other leaders of the Department of Homeland Security to go stand on top of buildings and look at chicken suits. That's what they're doing with your taxpayer dollars during a shutdown. The billions of dollars they are spending on this National Guard cosplay, $200 million at least in DC alone, to pick up litter, to stand in front of a building, and to do local law enforcement, is nothing more than an attack on and trying to undermine and crush the second party in this country that's currently out of power, the Democrats, and undermine their brand. That's all we've been. When people are wondering, I wonder why we're seeing this. The indictments of Democratic leaders, the investigations of Democratic leaders, the attacks on the icons of our brand, going after the brand, recasting the brand as being made up of terrorists and pedophiles and the rest. This is all Donald Trump's effort, like any good dictator, is to try to crush the other, to have one party rule. And that's where he's going. That's why he's trying to embarrass Gavin Newsom, although it's backfiring, or J.B. Pritzker, it's backfiring, or Letitia James. This is what we're watching. And we need to call it out and train our fire on it in order to regain the narrative and start making, we now have to pivot as a group of people to start making our case to the American people for the midterms. And it starts now, not 6 months from now. It starts now.
Welcome back. We sit at the intersection of law and politics so you don't have to. We do it on Wednesdays and Saturdays at 8 p.m. Eastern time, a 1 hour long, full-size podcast. Of course, hot takes all along the way. I do about 40 videos a week, as you know. You can follow us and listen to us on Apple and Spotify. Leave a 5-star review and comment. That helps keep us on the air. That is the defense we need during these trying times. You can watch us on YouTube as well, where we're top 20 regularly, the #1 law and politics show. Come over to Legal AF, the YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button. And for $6.77 a month, you can become a paid member of Legal AF Substack, and that's where your help is really needed. No outside investors, no paywall. That's it. So until my next report, I'm Michael Popok. Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.